Good afternoon. It's so wonderful to see you here again, and you are in for a treat this afternoon. One of my favorite parts of camp meeting is the music, and we have such a special guest with us this afternoon, Jennifer LaMountain. You got to appreciate some of her music last night and earlier at church today, and we get a lot of it right now. I'm so excited about that. Jennifer comes all the way from Orlando, so she's in a different time zone. So I give her a lot of credit for suffering through that change and coming and blessing us. She will share more about herself during her concert, but I want to make sure that you know that she will be available this evening at the ABC after sundown. And there will be CDs and DVDs available there for you to purchase, and she will be signing them, and you can meet her and talk with her then. So make sure that you stop by and see her at the ABC tonight. So she'll share more about herself during the concert, but the one thing that I can say about her is that I know that she loves Jesus a lot, and that comes through so clearly in her music. She has sung all over the world for many years and blessed people, but the thing that always comes through is that incredible love that she has for Jesus. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you ready to praise the Lord with me? Amen.
Fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing, our helper He amid the flood of mortal ills prevailing. For still our ancient foe doth seek to work us all, his craft and power are great, and armed with cruel hate, on earth is not his equal. Did we in our own strength confide, our striving would be losing. Were not the right man at our side, the man of God's own choosing. Dost ask who that may be? Christ Jesus, it is He, Lord Sabaoth His name, from age to age the same, and He must win the battle. God's word above all earthly powers, no thanks to them abideth. The Spirit and the gifts are ours, through Him who with us sideth. Let goods and kindred go, this mortal life also, the body they may kill, God's truth abideth still, His kingdom is forever. His kingdom is forever.
Amen. This afternoon, what I would love more than anything for those of us here gathered together is that we just get a chance not only to praise His name for what He's done for us, but to see his purpose for us more clearly, to understand his will in our lives today, the direction that he wants to take each of us for right now. It can change at different times in our life, but for this moment in time, if we could see that purpose more clearly this afternoon, that's my prayer for each one of us.
Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of sweetest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount, I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love.
Through all the years of singing this song, this last stanza keeps changing in its meaning for me. It means so much more now than ever. What does it mean to you today?
Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee, prone to wander. Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts
Those are great songs, aren't they? I think there's a reason why some of these songs stay with us for so long. So rich, so rich. Well, I bring you greetings from Orlando, Florida. It is a little hotter there than here. So I'm really, really enjoying the weather right now. And it's beautiful here. I've been talking all weekend with people, trying to remember when it was that I was here. I was on campus here for a camp meeting, and it would have been, now I'm going to start telling my age, but it was years before, so it would have had to have been before you were going to Walla Walla. And we can't quite nail down when it was, but that was the last time I was probably on this campus, and that's been a good while back. So it's nice to be back here, and even last night when I was driving in, and I was stopping and taking pictures all over the place, just because it's just beautiful to me. So I'm so grateful that the conference would invite me so that I could come and take such beautiful pictures. It was really, and I'm reconnecting with people from years past, and it's a lovely thing. So thank you so much for having me here. Some of you do know my husband, Lionel, and he would want me to send his greetings as well. Lionel is the better half, just so you know. He is. He's a great guy. He is the Southern Union Health Ministries Director. And right now, he is with our son in upstate New York, doing some fun father-son. It's their little annual father-son trip that they do. So they're having their boy time. And I'm sending them pictures of where I am, and they're sending me pictures of where they are. But and some of you have been kind to ask about Garrison. Our son is a big deal. I know all of our children are a big deal, but Lionel and I were married 17 years before this kid showed up, so he's a big deal. Yeah, there you go. He's our miracle baby, and he will be turning 11 next month. That's just hard for me to believe. But Garrison is, he's like us. There's no other way for me to say it, because Lionel and I, we're both type A, very strong-willed, independent people, and our son has it double portion. He just does. So that's my son for you. But we learned early on. I'm telling you, he's not even here to defend himself. He's a really sweet boy, just so you know. He's a good kid. He is a good kid. But we learned early on the importance of leverage with this child. And basically, as any good parents do, when we learned that he really wanted something, we used that as leverage to get what we needed him to accomplish or do. So when he saw the big red bike in Walmart and wanted it, desperately wanted the bike, we said, well, if you want a big bike, this is when he was moving from a tricycle to a bicycle. He said, if you want the big boy bike, then you're going to have to do a few more big boy things. So we made out our list, and he followed it, and he figured out how to do all these things so that he could get his bike. And thankfully, he accomplished all these things before his birthday, so we were able to give him the bike for his birthday. And on the morning of his birthday, he's running downstairs, and he sees the bike, and he's so excited. I mean, excited beyond belief. It's just the best thing to make a kid that happy. It's just great. So here he is, so happy, and he's running down, he's getting on the bike, and I'm putting knee pads and elbow pads and helmets, everything you need to do to keep your child safe. And Lionel thinks I'm crazy because the training wheels are on the bike, but I'm a mom, so we got to take care of our kids, and I'm keeping him safe. So he gets on that bike, and it's as if he had ridden one his whole life. It was no problem, and he was just zooming around on that thing. We had a nice flat concrete area for him to ride. It was just perfect, and he was having a heyday, just big fun. And we have an outside building that a sidewalk goes around, and so he was zooming around that too. And then one of the training wheels caught on the edge of that sidewalk between that and the grass, and it careened him off down a very steep hill. I know, and so we're running after him, and we're trying to catch him, and I was so proud of him, and he was steering that thing just so straight, but he had forgotten where the brakes were, and he was trying to put his legs down to stop, and his legs wouldn't touch the ground. And so this poor child steering that bike straight just keeps going, and we can't catch him. And thankfully a tree stopped him. Right into the tree. Yeah, this is the sad part. He actually broke his arm too. So I know, we're just awful parents, awful. So, yeah, so we have to take the child then to the emergency room, and we get, the x-rays and the casts and the whole shebang. You know what we had to do when we were done with all that? The first thing we had to do? We're good parents, remember? As any good parent, we decided we needed to put him straight back on the bike, because he hated the bike now. He was afraid of it, and he wanted nothing to do with it. So we take this poor child, crying and sobbing, and we put him back on that bike. And so Lionel would hold on to one end. I think Lionel had the front end, and I had the back. And we would go just a few feet, and then he would practice the brake. And then we'd go just a few feet more, and then he would practice the brake again so that he could make sure he was safe. And it took a while, really, before he enjoyed that bike again. But, and his bones healed, and he's broken a few more since. He's a boy. He's my son. There you go. But the reality is that in this life, things are going to happen to Garrison that will break him, and they will not be healed this side of heaven. That's the way life is. You live here long enough. There's times that cancer wins. Sometimes the relationship falls apart, or sometimes the finances aren't there. I don't know what it is for you today, but I do know this: God's got a hold of the bike. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, God leads his dear children along, where the waters cool flow, bathes the weary one's feet. God leads his dear children along, some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Sometimes on the mount where the sun shines so bright, God leads his dear children along. Sometimes in the valley, in darkest of night, God leads his dear children along. Some through the waters, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season. In the night season, God leads his dear children You remember the story of the disciples and Christ in the boat? Our sermon this morning reminded me of this song. These were experienced fishermen, and a bad storm came, and they were afraid. They forgot who was in the boat with them.
All you had to do was raise your hand and speak the words, peace, be still. And all the anger, all the fury of that raging storm surrender to your will. Even the wind and the waves obey. Why can't I? Why can't I? Where is my faith? Is it lost at sea? Lord, help me be like the wind and the waves. When the storms of life take you by surprise and your faith gets swept overboard, I hate it when I give in to all my fears instead of trusting in you, Lord. Even the wind and the waves obey. Why can't I? Why can't I? Where is my faith? Is it lost at sea? Lord, help me be like the wind and the waves. Even the wind and the waves obey. Why can't I? Why can't I? Where is my faith? Is it lost at sea? Lord, help me be like the wind and the waves. Lord, help me be like the wind and the waves. Lord, help me be like the wind and the waves.
This is what God says. The one who formed you, the one who created you. He says, I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. When you pass through the waters, they will not sweep over you. And when you walk through the fire, you shall not be harmed. For I am the Lord your God, the holy God of Israel. You are precious and honored in his sight. Isn't that beautiful promises? He says so many other places, I'll never leave you, I'll never forsake you. Lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the age. We can count on that, can't we?
For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the gift of thy dear Son, for the hope of heaven at last, for is my Father's world, and to my listening ears all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world. Oh, let me never forget that though the wrong seems oh so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's world. The battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and earth and heaven beyond.
I always have to point it out because I'm so afraid you'll miss it. It's my favorite line in the song, and it's more than half the reason why we did the whole song. If you've heard me sing it before, I've told it to you before. Now, Nancy, you should know what my favorite line in the song is. Though the wrong seems off so strong, what? God is the ruler yet. Though the wrong seems off so strong, God is the ruler yet. Do you believe that? Yeah. Always? Have you believed that? Really? Good for you. And it's good. I wish that I could say that I have always believed that. It is hard to look at what happens in this world and see. I mean, we just turn on the news today, and how is God being victorious in some of these things? But God is faithful. He has been everything He's promised in the small things in my life. When I claim His promises, I see He comes through every single time. So I have to believe that even though this world is in the chaos that it is, and that so many things are not under His victorious hold, one day they will be. One day they will be. And I cannot wait to see that day. That will be a wonderful day. A wonderful day. You have to forgive me. I actually have totally forgotten where I was headed after that. I got so emotional over that. I don't know where I'm going next. So, Art, Oh, that's where I'm headed next. Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you for that. So I guess I just showed my age once again. I know it's hard to believe. Do you realize I've been doing music ministry for over 20 years now? Isn't that hard to believe? I look so young. And I'm forgetful, all of it. It's just all coming. The whole package of age is on me now. No, all right. Well, so I'm going to switch gears altogether, and this is an awfully fun little song. It goes by very, very fast, so I hope I can get all the words in. Forgive me if I don't, but it is a call back to the roots of my family, actually. Even though Southern Gospel never ingrained itself within me deeply to be the style that I would choose to sing, it is part of my soul. My father grew up in Arkansas in the hills, and he did his best to teach us girls good music, and my oldest sister, she can play the banjo. She plays classical guitar beautifully as well. My middle sister was the mandolin player. My dad kept trying to help me play fiddle, but honestly, I played the violin. That's just what it was. So this is something. This goes way back to some of the quartets in the South used to sing this song quite a bit, and see if you remember it. So my version of Southern Gospel. Here we go.
Brother, let me tell you about the world today, how the worldly people pass the time away.
Oh, wait. Now, I totally messed up the words already. We're just going to have to start it all over. I do need a little more music in the monitor, so it's not their fault. I'm just all freaked out that I'll forget all the words. So here we Okay, I think I know the words now. We can grow. Okay, here we go. Yeah, and give me just a little bit more in the monitor. That'll work. Brother, let me tell you about the Lord today, how he took me in and washed my sins away, filled me with the Spirit and amazing grace, promised me a mansion and a resting place, told me how the angel band would shout and sing, how we're gonna make the hills and valleys ring. Maybe that's the reason that I feel so fine. All my weary have been left behind. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today, because the love of Jesus came into my heart to stay. I never realized that I had lost my way until the love of Jesus washed my sins all away. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today. When I stop and think about the world today, how the worldly people pass the time away, makes me kind of wonder what the future holds, how we're ever going to reach the sinful souls. We can only reach them if we kneel and pray, try to draw a picture of the judgment day, live a life before them that will testify, prove we have the answer from the throne on high. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today, because the love of Jesus came into my heart to stay. I never realized that I had lost my way until the love of Jesus washed my sins all away. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today, because the love of Jesus came into my heart to stay. I never realized that I had lost my way until the love of Jesus washed my sins all away. I've got a feeling, a newborn feeling. I've got a newborn feeling dwelling in my heart today. Well, it's a fun one. You'll have to get the CD if you want to hear it done right. And I don't do it very often, so it's a stretch for me to try to remember with this old mind of mine. Now, this goes way, way back. I've sung this song more than any other, and I believe it's a song for our generation because we are the last generation, right? Darkness around me, sorrow surrounds me, though there be trials, still I can see, for I have this treasure, my God reigns within me, and I am determined to live for the King. I am determined to be invincible till He has finished His purpose in me, and nothing shall shake me, for He'll never forsake me, and I am determined to live for the King. Well, this is my favorite part of the song, so listen to these words carefully. Hell's gates are trembling from our prayers ascending. Darkness is crumbling from praises we sing. I miss Kelly Maurer when I do that. I was talking about her earlier today, too. How many of you know Kelly Maurer? Clap your hands if you know Kelly Maurer. Yeah, yeah. And we sang and played that song all over this world. And I really believe that we are the last generation. And that means we have to be a great people of courage. And the thing is, it is easy to take hold of his hand and just go with it. It really is. I look at the times in my life that I've been afraid or not willing to follow what I thought he was calling me to do, and realized how silly that is, because every time I do what I know he's asking or where I sense he's calling, it's always been the right thing. And no matter how hard it seemed at the beginning, it ended up being the very best thing ever. Right? So whatever we face in these days ahead, I believe firmly that he has already won the battle and he's got us. He's got our back the whole way through. Actually, I'm going to have you stop that again. I'm sorry. Let me tell you about this song. There's two songwriters. Well, it's a songwriting team is what it is. One writes the music and one writes the lyrics. And they live in New York, and they were up against a time crunch. They were supposed to write several songs for a CD project, and they were behind schedule. And so they were racing to get through the songs. And one of the songs they knew needed to be, it was a romantic love song theme, and it was to be in the style of a power ballad, for those of you that know your musical terms. So they knew what they were going to need to accomplish generally. And so the one who wrote the music went ahead and wrote it first, which is unusual for this team. And he wrote the music first, and then he sent the music home with the lyricist to write the words the next day. The guy only had a day to write the words, and then they had to get it in the studio the following day. So the lyricist took it home, and the next morning, the towers fell. So he wrote this instead.
Long ago and far away, before the world had come to this, I took for granted how my life would be, assuming that my freedoms would be free. Before these evening shadows fell, I reveled in the light of day. I rarely ever cried, my patience wasn't tried, and heroes never died. If I had my way, things would be different. Danger wouldn't come from a sky of blue. Choices would be clear, strangers would be kinder, love a little blinder, as it saved the day. If I had my way. Every now and then, it seems we live Children would be cherished, hope would never perish, faith would not betray. If I had my way.
Even so, he needs to come quickly. We're told that if we would spend a little time contemplating the final hours of Christ's life, that it would change us forever. So for just a moment, go with me and try to imagine what things looked like, what they sounded like, what they smelled like even, when Christ was going to the cross for you, for me.
The look on Judas' face, the torches set ablaze, the weapons drawn and raised, the chill of night, the friends who fled in fear, the sound of Peter's tears, the way the people cheered, crucify, a nightmare coming true before your eyes. What was it that was going through your mind? You thought of us, every one of us, and all your love for us caused you to stay. You could have spared your life and still had paradise. But even when the pain we put you through became too much, you thought of the hands that stripped you bare, the eyes that mocked and stared, the laughter everywhere, each stripe they made, the needles running red, the nails, the fight for breath, the gaping door of death, the awful taste. You raged against the silence in the sky. But when you asked for God to tell you why, you thought of us, every one of us, and all your love for us caused you to stay. You could have spared your life and still had paradise. But even when the pain we put you through became too much, you thought of us. And on that Sunday bright, so full of love and life, with angels left and right to take you home. But first, you had to find someone to share the joy in you. should be the first to hear the news. You thought of us, and all your love for us caused you to stay. We were the very ones who turned away your love. But even when the pain we put you through became too much, you thought of us. You thought of What wondrous love is this? Oh, my soul, oh, my soul. What wondrous love is this? Oh, my soul. What wondrous love is this that calls the Lord of bliss to bear the dreadful curse for my soul, for my soul, to bear the dreadful curse for my soul. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing and joyful be. And through eternity I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And through eternity I'll sing
I can't imagine a life without singing. My mom tells me that she used to send me, I don't remember doing this, but she used to send me outside to sing. She'd tell me to go sing to the tulips that they would grow faster. I think she's just trying to get me out of the house. Now that I'm a mother, I realize what she was doing. But I understood my world through singing. I always have. It's the way concepts become clearer to me, that I tangibly take hold of things and commit to them through song. It's just the way I'm made. And I'm glad that there's other people that love music too and connect to the world through that art. So I'm just so grateful. And for all these years, for me to be able to share what I know about Christ through song is a profound blessing to me. I can't say enough how grateful I am to have had such an opportunity. I'm an emotional person, clearly, so just go with it. Us three girls, we were always the waterworks at church there on the front row. It's just the way my family is. But I'm not sure that I would have ever realized this is where I would have been at this point in my life. Even though music is always going to be a part of it and was always a part of it, I have always thought of it as taking different forms. I actually was a music major, I was a music teacher, and some of my students are here even, and I thought that was my world, and that's the way music would be a part of my life. And when we moved to Florida, that's when I kind of literally fell into doing music ministry. And I thought I would do it for about a year until I found another teaching position down there. And it turned into, this is 21 years right now. So, and I'm grateful for that. But early in my ministry, you figure out what it does what it takes. You figure out what it takes to turn it into a viable business. And it takes a lot of work. And it's not something that I would wish on anyone to do, frankly. For me to run the ministry office I did and the families that were involved with it, I was on the road 200 to 250 days a year. That's the commitment level that goes with it. And my husband and I knew that this is what God was calling me to, and we full-heartedly went into it knowing what that would be like, and we're happy to do that. But we also continually would put out fleeces in various ways, and I don't need to tell you how all those ways were, but we always were looking to see when it was time for me to shift gears or to do something different or move back into teaching or whatever that may be. Because, and at some point, I am going to be too old. You will not want to hear this voice anymore. But anyway, we always watched for that. And there actually came a point that, like with any job, and I hope you will understand me when I say this, that I just burned out. And I was tired. I was tired of the travel. It was not really making much sense to me anymore. And on a particular week, my husband and I made a decision that we would shut down my music ministry, that I would go ahead and fulfill the appointments that I had in front of me and go another direction. It's just, I felt, you know, when you pray and you're in a terrible situation and you pray and you feel like your prayers don't go beyond the ceiling, you know, that little phrase and that feeling itself? Well, that's exactly the way I felt about my songs. I felt like they went, you know, right in front of me and fell flat. There was nothing within them and no reason to be singing them. So I was ready to give up. And so Lionel and I decided, well, we're going to do this. We'll follow through with the commitments, but yes, let's not accept anything new and begin a new direction. And we made this decision on a particular week that was just grueling for me. I was on the West Coast doing concerts, and we lived in Jacksonville, Florida at the time. So I was on the West Coast doing concerts all weekend. And on Sunday night, I took a red eye home so that I could get home to Jacksonville. On Monday, I could do my laundry and see my husband. And on Tuesday morning, I was back on another flight, straight back to the West Coast to do tapings that week. And so I did tapings, and on Friday, I flew to Orlando for another gig. That wasn't home. It was for another appointment I had. At that time, it wasn't home. So I flew into Orlando, and what I was there to do, and many of you know Adventist Health Systems, and it was their missions conference, missions and ministry conference that they have, their leadership conference. And I was coming in at the end of that week to provide their entertainment, basically, for Saturday night. So I had flown in, and they did want me to sing for church that morning. So I flew in on Friday. I knew what I was doing for church the next day because we had decided it months in advance. This was a televised event, and at that time we had to know every single second and account for every single second of the program. And so based on their theme. Their theme was called Living with Dying. So we had chosen my song, No More Night. It was an obvious choice. And it would be at the end of the sermon. And I knew all this. I knew the sound guy. And I was burned out and jet lagged. So I slept in really late that morning. And I showed up after the service had already started. And I threw my disc to the sound guy, and he threw me the mic. And I came over, and I sat right over here. And it was the last place I wanted to be. They were going through the program, and the speaker got up. And I was actually surprised at who it was. I hadn't remembered that was who it was. Clearly, my memory's not all that good, so I don't know why I should have been surprised. But it was Lee Venden. And I tell this story partially because many of you know him so well. So Lee was the speaker that morning, and I was happy about that. He's a wonderful speaker, and he did a beautiful sermon on the Passion of Christ for this theme that they had at this missions conference. He had chosen to talk about those final hours of Christ's life there on the cross, what every aspect of his death meant and symbolized for our eternal life. It was really a beautiful sermon, great sermon, enjoyed it. And it was clear he was winding down towards the end because he said, well, let me share one more thing with you about Travis. So he was going to tell a story. And some of you know the Travis story. Well, this was the first time I was hearing anything about it. So I perk up because I like a story. And I knew I would be on shortly after. And so Lee starts sharing with the story about one of his parishioners, who's a teenage boy named Travis. And it's clear he had been sharing parts of the story throughout the week. But what he was sharing at the end of that church service that day was Travis's request. He pulled Lee aside. He says, you're my pastor, and I need you to sit down with me and plan my funeral with me. And just like most everybody else said, Lee said, no, we don't need to do that yet, Travis. And Travis said, no, everybody tells me that. My parents won't plan it with me. My friends won't plan it with me. He says, I need somebody to sit down and take note of what I want done. Because in case I don't beat this thing, he said, I want to make sure that my wishes are followed through with. So Lee sat down with this sweet teenage boy who was dying with cancer. And as Lee told us what Travis described and what he wanted for his memorial service, it was beautiful. It was a clear window into the faith of this boy. You saw that what he was trying to do one last time was to save his friends and family for Christ. It was a beautiful thing. Lee began to detail all the things. And what Travis had asked is that no matter when he passed away, he wanted his service to be on Friday night and to end at sunset because he wanted it to represent him going into his Sabbath rest. Isn't that sweet? I mean, yeah. So we were all tearing up in the audience. It was just beautiful, all these elements. And Travis said, as the sun is setting, he said, I want you to end the service with my favorite song by my favorite singer, Jennifer LaMountain's No More Night. And the sound guy started the track. Well, you see how easily I cry. I was a mess. And I did a terrible job of performing the song, and everybody in the moment understood, but it was a shame, frankly, that I couldn't pull myself together very well. But what killed me is I've been a part of meetings like this before, and Adventist Health System, they care very, very much about the emotional journey and the environment, not only in their hospital systems, but in their meetings. And so anytime I was a part of a meeting with them, everything had been planned out to the very last detail because they wanted to make the greatest impact they could. So I knew that they knew about that story, and nobody told me, and I just flubbed it all up, and probably because I showed up so late. Well, anyway, so when I was done with the song, I go back down, and I sit down, and I really started to cry then after that adrenaline rush and all. And the promoter came and he sat down beside me, and I punched him in the leg. And I said, Kevin, I said, why did you not tell me all this? I would have ignored the story so I could have done my part right. And he said, well, actually, he said, our speaker got sick last minute. And Lee came in to fill in for him. Well, and of course, Lee saw what song I was going to do, and he knew that would be a great way to connect things. And it just blindsided me, though. And what Lee also didn't know is that I was sitting there believing that my songs had no value beyond myself. It was very impactful to me that day. 1 week later, 1 week, it was a Saturday night, and I was getting ready for a concert. I was back on the West Coast again in Seattle, very close here to you guys. That's why I'm sharing this story with you, because this state has special meaning to me in my ministry. So I'm back in Seattle 1 week later, and I'm getting ready for the event. It was a larger event with several artists involved and musicians. So I was working out in the front with some of the volunteers. We were getting set up and all of that. And a lady came and introduced herself to me. And so we were talking, and she asked me, she said, are you going to sing No More Night this evening? And I said, oh, no, I'm sorry. I actually hadn't planned to. And she said, oh, is there any way you could sing it? And I kind of knew I couldn't, because it was a big program, lots of things going on, and I just really apologized. And she said, well, that's the song, she said, that led me to Christ. Well, I wanted to hear this story. And as my disclaimer before I say this, I know anything can lead a person to Christ. I know that. But that is not what I usually hear for that song. That's not the type of story that comes back to me for that song. There's other songs of mine that are more instrumental, I think, in people choosing Christ as their Savior. But in this particular instance, this one did it for her. And so I had to know the story, and I asked her. And she said, well, she said, I'm a pediatric nurse. And she said, I work nights. And she said, I had a patient. She said, at night especially, he would be in a lot of pain, a lot of physical pain. And she said, this boy, he had a great faith in God. And she said, when he would be in lots of pain, he would turn on your CD and he would play No More Night over and over and over again. And she said, just his faith and everything. She said, one of those nights I was sitting at the desk and I heard the music coming down the hall, and I thought about his faith, and she said, I decided that I wanted to accept Christ as my Savior as the song was playing down the hallway. And so she knelt down and accepted Christ there in that hospital hallway. I said, this wouldn't happen to be Travis, would it? And she said, oh, you know him. I said, well, no, I just heard about him a week ago. And she said, oh, well, his parents are here. So I dropped everything, and I went and I met Tom and Trina. They sat and they told me, they showed me pictures of Travis. He was an athlete, he was a musician. And I made sure I sang No More Night that evening. We found a way. It was a few years after that I was able to go to the gravesite and visit where Travis rests. And there on the tombstone is his name and the dates and this one inscription: no more night, no more pain, no more tears, never crying again. Jennifer LaMountain and Walt Hara, the songwriter. I really look forward to the day I get to meet Travis and to tell him how his story came back to me at a time that I needed to hear it. And you realize what I do. I just sing songs. That's all I do. And sometimes not very well. I forget the words. But at that time, when I felt like there was no purpose in what I was doing anymore, God reminded me that He had a purpose, that He had a plan, that He was at work. Here's my question to you today. What is it that He's placed in your hands? It's different at different times in our life. It changes and it shifts. But I do believe that no matter how young you are, no matter how old you are, no matter how little you think you have to offer, God's hand in it makes it amazing. And so, of course, I have to sing this song for you. And we'll think of the great reunion we're going to have with so many that we've lost. But would you also pray? Pray about what God's placed in your hand for this time, for this moment. And pray that you'll have the courage just to simply do it. The timeless theme, earth and heaven will pass away. It's not a dream. God will make all things new that day. Gone is the curse from which I stumbled and fell. Evil is banished to eternal hell. No more night, no more pain, no more tears, never crying again. Raise us to the great I am. We will walk in the light of the risen Lamb. Look over there, it's a mansion prepared for me, where I can live with my Savior eternally. No more night, no more pain, no more tears, never crying again. Raise us to the great I am. We will live in the light of the risen Lamb. We will live in the light of the risen Thank you to so many people for not only inviting me here, but making it such you have an amazing conference. Let me tell you, and the officials that work in the conference office are amazing people. They're so organized and so helpful. You need to know that from an outsider's point of view. They have been an amazing group of people. So thank you to them, and thank you to Bob and Art. Please give them a hand. Their ministry is huge. I couldn't do any of this without you, so you know what? I'd be up a creek, and you make it very easy for me, so thank you so much for that. And thank you to each of you for taking time, being here and sharing, and I hope that in some way you've seen his face more clearly and understand what he's calling to you right now in your life. That would, for me, myself as well, that is my great hope today, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to share one last song with you, and this cries back to this God who holds the bike for us. By his very breath, he breathes planets into existence. The sun has come from his mouth, by the word of his mouth. It's just amazing to me, and I can't fathom really who he is and all he is and what he is all about. And yet I do know that he sees you and he sees me. Even so, this great God of the universe cares about every detail of our life. He knows knows the numbers of hairs on her head. It's amazing, isn't it? That's the God we serve. That's the God we serve.
Though men may strive to go beyond the reach of space, to crawl beyond the distant glimmering stars, this world's a room so small within my master's house. The open sky, it's but a portion of his yard. The winter's chill may cause a tiny seed to fall, to lie asleep till waked by summer's rain.
Now this is the real miracle.
The heart grown cold will warm and throb with life anew. The Master's touch will bring the glow again. How big is God? How big and wide His vast domain, to try to tell these lips can only start. He's big enough to rule His mighty universe, yet small enough to live within my heart. How big is God? How big is God? How big is
I know you know this song. Won't you sing it with me? How great thou art.
How great thou art! How great thou art!
Then sings my soul.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Great is thy faithfulness. How great thou art!
Won't you pray with me? Dear God in heaven, we have no idea. We cannot comprehend you, but we do know that we love you, and we praise you today. Thank you so much for everything that you've done in our lives and all that you want to still do yet. I pray that you will open our eyes, give us the courage to take your hand and simply run with you. And please, Lord, please come back soon. We cannot wait to see you face to face. In your precious Son's name, amen. Thank you so much. God bless you. I don't know, are there any announcements? There's announcements, so you can't go yet. So, but God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. What a blessing. Don't forget to make sure you stop by the ABC this evening. Jennifer will be there, and you can get her CDs and continue to be blessed. And cry a little. Boy, you had me crying.
Oh, me too.
I want to remind all of you, you can come back here at 6:30 for one last wonderful concert. Scott Orser and the Dixons will get some good saxophone music in at 6:30. So make sure you're here for that. And we'll see you then. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.